My boyfriend is cheating on me. I'm at a loss for words right now, trying to piece together what just happened. My entire world feels like it's collapsing around me, and I don't even know how to start dealing with it. I'm shaking as I write this, and I'm sorry in advance if there are any mistakes or if it doesn't make complete sense. I'm still trying to process everything, and the shock hasn't worn off. I've been living with my boyfriend, Daniel, for the past 3 years. We've been together for a total of 10 years, having started our relationship back in high school. For a decade, it seemed like we were the perfect couple. Everything in our life together felt great: our home, our relationship, our intimacy. We'd built a life together, and I thought we had a solid foundation. Daniel always seemed like my rock, the person I could rely on through thick and thin. Daniel works a lot. That's something I've always known, and I've always been understanding about it. Today, he mentioned that he needed to go to the office to finish up some work that he could only do on the office computer. It wasn't unusual. He'd had to do this before. I never questioned it because he always seemed to be genuinely caught up in his work. I trusted him completely. We had planned a special dinner for tonight, a celebration of our anniversary. It was supposed to be a night to remember, filled with good food and the kind of intimate conversation that only comes from years of shared history. I was supposed to meet him at the restaurant later, since it was conveniently close to his office. It was supposed to be a lovely evening to mark a decade of being together. Lately, I had noticed some changes. Daniel had seemed distant, less interested in our physical intimacy, and I chalked it up to work stress. I tried to be supportive, suggesting he get some exercise and take care of himself. I never suspected that his distance was due to something more deceitful. I wanted to believe that he was just overwhelmed with work and needed time to unwind. Today, however, something felt off. After Daniel had taken a nap, I tried to wake him to show him some pictures I had sent him on Instagram. But when I approached him, he grabbed his phone and hurried to the bathroom. I found it odd, especially since we'd always shared our phones without hesitation. I brushed it off at first, thinking it might be a simple need for privacy. But the uneasy feeling in my stomach persisted. A few hours later, as Daniel left for what he said was an important office task, my anxiety got the better of me. I decided to check his computer. I knew it was a breach of trust, but I was desperate to understand what was happening. When I turned on his computer, the messages I found were devastating. There were communications with an adult entertainment service, explicit requests for pictures, and appointments scheduled for times when he was supposed to be working. The reality of his betrayal hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt my entire world shatter. I could barely breathe as I stared at the screen, trying to come to terms with what I was seeing. The man I had trusted, the person I thought was my soulmate, was involved in something so deceitful and hurtful. It was as if the ground had been pulled out from under me, leaving me in a state of disorientation and profound sadness. I didn't know how to face Daniel now. The thought of going to the restaurant and celebrating felt like a sick joke. How could I go through with it when everything was so tainted? The dinner, which was supposed to be a highlight of our relationship, now felt like a cruel reminder of what had been lost. I paced our apartment, trying to gather my thoughts and figure out what to do next. I knew I couldn't just ignore this or pretend everything was fine. I had to confront him, but the idea of doing so was terrifying. The betrayal was so deep that I felt paralyzed, unable to even cry as I struggled with the pain and disbelief. As the time to meet Daniel at the restaurant approached, I knew I needed to be strong and clear-headed. I chose my outfit carefully, trying to find something that made me feel empowered. I glanced in the mirror, searching for a semblance of the person I used to be, the one who faced challenges with confidence and grace. Arriving at the restaurant, my heart was pounding with a mix of dread and determination. The familiar sounds of chatter and clinking glasses seemed distant and surreal. Daniel was already there, his face lighting up when he saw me. He stood up, a warm, genuine smile on his face. I managed a tight-lipped smile in return as I took my seat. "Hey," he said, his voice full of affection and anticipation. But I couldn't return the warmth. I knew we needed to address what had happened, no matter how painful it was going to be. "Daniel," I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me, "we need to talk." His smile faltered immediately. I saw his expression shift from confusion to concern, and the weight of the situation settled heavily between us. The restaurant, once a place of celebration, now felt like a stage for this painful conversation. I took a deep breath, preparing myself for what I had to say. "I found messages on your computer, messages from an adult entertainment site. You've been asking for pictures and scheduling appointments with other women." The silence that followed was deafening. Daniel's face went pale, and I could see the shock and guilt in his eyes. The room seemed to close in around us as the gravity of the situation sunk in. As I spoke, I realized that this evening was no longer about our anniversary or celebrating our years together. It was about confronting the painful truth and deciding what came next. I had to find the strength to address the betrayal and figure out how to move forward from here. The dinner, with its romantic ambience and celebratory atmosphere, was overshadowed by the conversation we were about to have. It was a moment of reckoning, one that would determine the future of our relationship. As we began to unravel the painful truth and navigate the difficult conversation, I knew that whatever happened next would shape the new chapter of our lives, one that would require honesty, healing, and perhaps the courage to embrace a different future. Whatever that might look like.